The Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, has once again hinted that he may be turning his back on the UK for good and instead seeing out the rest of his career, be it in boxing or otherwise, over in the United States. He seems very bitter towards the British public. So let me give you some quotes here from the Gypsy King. He says, "They had their chance. They didn't treat me well. Over here in the United States, I get treated like a superstar." The article goes on to explain that Fury's autobiography, Behind the Mask, comes out next week, while UK television channel ITV will air a 4-part documentary entitled Meet the Furies. And I certainly hope it features John Fury heavily. If it doesn't, I'll give it a pass. If it does, it's must-see television. But in rather typically contradictory fashion, Tyson Fury goes on to say that he actually hates fame. Bizarrely, he says here, "It's not really what I'm after, it's strictly business. I made Meet the Fury so people can see the real Tyson Fury. I hate fame. When I go to a big city, it's just a nightmare, torture. Honestly, the only bit I enjoy is going to the gym. That's what makes me happy. Everything else is just what I've got to do." So those are the words of the Gypsy King. Again, very strange that he, in one breath, is bitter towards the British public, says they had their chance, they didn't treat me well. And then in the next breath, he's saying over in the United States, he gets treated like a superstar. The inference being he prefers the way they treat him in America to the way they treat him in the UK. But then he goes on to say he hates fame. It doesn't make any sense. If you hate fame, why are you doing the documentary, Meet the Furies? If you hate fame, well, surely you'd prefer it in the UK, since they don't treat you like a superstar in the UK, right? Since it's such a nightmare to go outside and be treated like a superstar, well, why wouldn't you prefer it in the UK? Very, very puzzling stuff from Tyson Fury, but it's, it's typical of the man. That's how he tends to be, very contradictory. And as I say, this is a guy who is the self-styled man of the people. The guy will happily give members of the public the shirt off his back and talk to anybody. This is what his team say about him. But yet he says he absolutely hates it. He hates the fame, I guess being recognized in the street and people wanting to talk to you and take selfies. He says he hates it. I thought he was the man of the people. What's going on here? Now, with regards to the way he was treated in the UK, particularly following his victory over Vladimir Klitschko, it's really not rocket science. People act like there's some grand scheme behind it all of people trying to keep Tyson Fury down because of his background, right? Because he's a gypsy. No, had nothing to do with that. Tyson Fury was promoted by Mick Hennessy and he was fighting on Box Nation. You're obviously not going to be as big of a star and as well promoted if you're with Mick Hennessy and Box Nation, are you? As you would be if you're with Eddie Hearn and Sky, especially back then. It don't take rocket science to figure that out, people. And on top of that, Tyson Fury beat Klitschko in good fashion, but it wasn't an exciting fight. So that's another mark, against him from the notoriety and fame perspective. And then add on top of that, the controversial comments that Tyson Fury made. And look, I'm not knocking him for making the comments that he made, but understand that if you say certain things in today's climate, and I'm not talking about the weather here, people, all right? But in today's climate, if you say certain things, you are going to experience backlash from the media and from large sections of the public. That's just the world we live in now. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Which is why he didn't get the kind of adulation following his win over Klitschko, because again, signed to Mick Hennessy, fighting on Box Nation, wasn't a particularly exciting performance, and he's coming out with controversial comments. That is not a recipe for being embraced by the British public and being held aloft by the British media. That's just not a recipe for that. It's a recipe for the exact opposite. It's not rocket science to figure this stuff out, people. On the other hand, you have Anthony Joshua, and yes, it's all about Anthony Joshua as far as Tyson Fury is concerned. Fury and his team and his followers have been deeply envious of the popularity that Anthony Joshua has enjoyed. But the reason why Anthony Joshua has enjoyed so much popularity is because he wasn't promoted by Mick Hennessy, he was promoted by Eddie Hearn. Okay, chalk and cheese, night and day, in terms of the level of promoter we're talking about when you compare those two. So he was promoted by Hearn, not Hennessy. He was on Sky, not on Box Nation. I mean, people, come on. It's not difficult to figure out why AJ was a lot more popular. AJ also brought the ladies in. That's a big section of his audience. He managed to bring them in. Most fighters don't manage to do that. He brought them in. He's a heavyweight. He was knocking people out. He wasn't really going to points a lot. So that's going to bring more of the public in. And on top of that, he was towing the politically correct line. And I know we can criticize that and say, oh, well, we'd prefer him to speak out and say this and say that. He decided to toe the politically correct line so that he could get the sponsorships, so that he could get pushed by the media. That's the road he chose to go down. Tyson Fury chose to go the other way. If Anthony Joshua had said the things that Tyson Fury had said publicly, and if Anthony Joshua was promoted by promoted by Mick Hennessy and was fighting on Box Nation, and if Anthony Joshua wasn't knocking people out and if he was mostly going the distance, then he'd probably be in a very similar situation to Tyson Fury. It's as simple as that. There's no mystery behind it. It's very, very straightforward. So, Now, as far as what do I think of Tyson Fury maybe turning his back on the British public, again, he clearly craves the adulation. As much as he says he hates fame, no, his ego wants to be loved. His dad even said this a couple years back. He wants to be loved by the British public. He wants them to hold him aloft and massage his ego. He wants that. And turning his back and going to the United States where he can get it from people instead, good luck to him. The only thing is, if Anthony Joshua can get back up to the top of the tree and become heavyweight champion again and start racking up some good wins, and it's a big if right now, his career is in the balance. But if he can, then we would all love to see Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury face off. And that fight only makes sense in the UK. How could you deny the British public a fight between the two most successful British heavyweights that we've seen in many, many years? That would be a scandal, to be honest, if Tyson Fury refused to fight AJ in the UK. A huge scandal. So I hope Tyson Fury softens his attitude a little bit towards the British public, understands the mistakes he made, particularly with regards to being with Box Nation and Mick Hennessy. Come on now, people. That is not a winning combination. So I hope his attitude softens a little bit. And if Tyson Fury carries on at the top of his game, particularly if he beats Wilder in the rematch, come on, Tyson. Give us the Anthony Joshua fight if AJ's still at the top. Give us that fight in the UK. Wembley Stadium. It will be a massive event. Don't deny the British public that. Yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.